Video, the first attempt was way too long, so I'll try to go through it very quickly. There is a method at the moment, a golden opportunity to get rid of all the banks and all the exploitative activity that has been, let's say, bugging us for years now. Basically, the core of the argument is that usually you have a central bank interest rate. You always have that, and it's a paradoxical thing because if the central bank loans you out €100 with 5% interest, it expects you to pay 105 euro back in a year. But where does that €5 come from? It never was there. Nobody ever issued it. So in those €5 are actually some asset that you have, something that you own, something that you built or created, and you have to give that to the bank. That's how the bank basically pushes you to create and grow all the time. The central bank interest rate requires you to grow. It forces the economy to produce new assets, new goods, products and services, to conquer new lands, to exploit more people. And it's all unnecessary. The central bank interest rate is usually about 4%, which is basically what is assumed the carrying capacity of the population by the banks. And this is really how they are reasoning about it. It's 4%, so you say, okay, the population can carry about 4% interest rate burden. And we can reap all that money as central bank. Of course, we get all the assets from the defaulting companies. There's always some that default and nobody cares about them, but we get all that stuff. And the rest will work really hard to grow and grow, and they will always need our services because they need to lend money, and they agree to pay this interest rate. It's an exploitative model. Today the interest rate, central bank interest rate in the US at least, is 0, and in Europe it's also next to 0. This is a golden opportunity for people that want to get rid of the banking system, because 0 interest rate by the central banks means that there is 0 pressure to grow or to be profitable. Profit at the moment is unnecessary if you're in the US, and growth is also unnecessary. You don't need to invest, you don't need to expand, you don't need to do anything. You can just carry on the way you are doing right now. Basically, if you have a profitable business, of course, and profitable means that you can pay your bills. Because the secret is, of course, there's a big problem that stands in your way if you want to try to do that, and those are the banks. The banks don't want you to rest, to take it easy. They charge you 29% interest rate on your credit card debt, so how is somebody in credit card debt going to get that 29%? He has to kind of rob it or exploit it from somebody else, or get it and do some crazy thing. He's pressured into going out into the market and getting that money from somebody else, and at the end somebody will default. And of course you have sky-high mortgage rates, which already are a result of speculative processes, but they also pressure people in doing all kinds of stuff that they otherwise wouldn't want, and if they fail in the end, they'll give all their material goods and stuff and all the things that are worth to the banks, which is exactly the goal of the banks. They want to have everything. And that's very strange. Why do they do that? Also, why do they make so much more noise about restarting the economy? That's basically because their model is dying. The model of the bank exploitation through interest rates is dying, and they want us all to restart the economy. They want us all to see increased growth percentages, because that is what they need, and they have taught us to need that too, but we really don't need it. We can be durable, we can do something completely different, which would make banks completely unnecessary. So the whole reason why they're all racking up the interest rates and racking up the mortgage rates and racking up the whole rhetoric about growth and investment and stuff like that, and finding a new speculative bubble, is because they want to prevent you from noticing that whole process is deteriorating your life. Profit is at the moment unnecessary. You don't have to make profit because you don't have to pay more interest rates. In reality, of course, banks try to hide the fact that they're not paying any interest rates. Growth is also unnecessary. If you want to invest, you could invest with a 0 interest rate loan. And you see that in clean energy in France and in India, and then they say that the government pays the bank the interest rate difference, but of course the government doesn't have to do that. 0 interest rates means that if you want to expand, you can simply go to the bank, get your money, expand, and of course you have to repay that money, but that's not exploitative. That's simply a fair deal, I guess. If you lend some money, you have to repay it. And because of that, the whole bank structure with the investment and the IPOs and all the other stuff and the stock market and all the nonsense are either unnecessary or they are necessary, but they could be handled much more fairly with much less pressure to make a profit, which would make it much more easy for people to deal with it. So, how to use this golden opportunity? Very simple and a little bit paradoxical, is minimize your profits. As a business, minimize them. Go low. Just move to the level of profit that is as low as possible without going out of business. That way you become uninteresting to banks. Minimize your growth. Don't expand. Don't try to find investors. Don't do anything. Just do what you do and make a little money. But be as uninteresting to banks as possible. Because then you minimize the bank exploitation opportunities. And that's what will kill them. That's how you get rid of them.